Hi.
Alright, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are brand new here, my name is Nikki and this is my book nook. Y'all, today we are doing my May reading wrap up, and I apologize, I know it's a few days late, but I've actually been on vacation for the last week and I'm sorry. I filmed it as soon as I got back. I didn't want to film it early because I knew there was still like a book or two that I was going to read on the plane, and I had to tell you guys about all of them, so hopefully you had time to watch all your other favorite booktubers wrap ups. And now you can watch mine. So here we are. The month of May, not gonna lie, a little crazy for me. I did read 6 books, but I would be lying if I didn't tell you that the vast majority of the month of May for me was consumed by one book and one book alone, and that was my book, When Fate Breaks. It came out in the month of May. May 25th was its release date, so a whole lot of time was put into getting this ready, getting it out there, and then just watching all of you lovely people read it. So many of you already have ordered it, read it, left reviews on Goodreads, slid into my DMs, sent me photos. Every single one has made my entire day. It's so insane that it's out in the world, and it just doesn't feel real to me. So if this book, if When Fate Breaks, was included in your May wrap up, please tag me in it, send it to me. I will cry because I've just about cried every single time. And if you have not yet read it and you'd like it to be in your June wrap up, I will put all the links down below. It is available to read for free on Kindle Unlimited. You can buy a paperback on Amazon and online from Barnes & Noble. So links down below. Enough self-promo. It's my baby and I love it and it's crazy, and this has been a crazy month. But yeah, let's get into the books that I read. So the first book that I read in the month of May was like the book of the month of May. It was one of the books that I was most excited this entire year to read because it came out at the very beginning of the month. Everybody's talking about it. It was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I have an entire video on this book, analyzing it, talking about it compared to People We Meet on Vacation and Beach Read, which is Emily Henry's other 2 books. All of them are smash hits, and really for a reason. Emily Henry just knows how to write a friggin' rom-com. She knows how to write characters, and this one, it didn't disappoint me. Basically, this story follows a girl named Nora. She lives in New York City and she works as a literary agent, and she is really that stereotypical character of a woman that's like invested her entire life into her career and hasn't really had time for herself or relationships, and she really fits into that trope, and she knows she fits into that trope because she does work in books, and it's something that she talks about a lot in this book. She's always the girl that's kind of left behind for the girl next door that just floats through life and like wants to be happy because she's just a person that's really serious. Nora might seem to have a really icy, serious exterior, but on the inside, she really just has a heart full of love for her sister Libby and her nieces, Libby's daughters. She loves them so much, they're her entire world. And so when Libby suggests at the start of the story that her and Nora should go away on a vacation like the entire month of August, they should just get away, unplug a little bit. She has the idea basically for them to go and spend a month in this town that their favorite book is set in. Very much like a little Hallmark movie moment. Nora is resistant because she loves her life in New York, and the idea for leaving for a full month is a little scary for her, but she wants to make Libby happy, and so they agree to go and do this and have a little sister bonding moment. And you know, the idea is fun initially. The whole idea is to get Nora out of the city, but Nora can't seem to stay away from the city because right after getting to this small town called Sunshine Falls, Nora immediately bumps into this man named Charlie Lastra, who is an editor from the city that she has almost worked with in the past, but they did not because they did not quite get along. They bumped heads, and so now she's stuck here for a month in this town with Charlie, and they can't seem to stop running into each other. It's kind of funny because the whole point of going to this town in Libby's eyes was to kind of give Nora a Hallmark movie moment, and that's kind of what she ends up having. It was really cute, lots of cute little lines. I liked it a lot. I didn't like it quite as much as People We Meet on Vacation, but it was a super easy read. It was really, really cute. I loved Nora. I felt like I related a lot to her, as I always feel like I do in Emily Henry's female main characters. I just always feel like they get me. They're like inside of my brain in one way or another. But yeah, this was a really cute book. I gave it like 4.5-ish stars. It was a good time. And the next 2 books that I read in the month of May were actually 2 books that I did a book battle reading vlog on, which you can go and watch if you're interested. I basically decided I wanted to compare The Layover by Lacey Walden to The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, because both of these books deal with enemies to lovers stuck on vacation together, essentially. I thought it would be a fun little summer moment to have. So first I will talk about The Layover because not enough people are talking about this book, and I seriously loved it so much. I am kind of like shouting it to the world. I want everyone to go and read it so we can talk about it together. But pretty much this story follows this girl named Ava. She is a flight attendant, and at the start of the story, she basically has gotten engaged and she's about to embark on her final trip before she quits being a flight attendant because she's ready to settle down. You know, she's always loved traveling, but some part of her always has wanted to be a person that settles down and stays in one place and doesn't just float through life. Like, she wants to have a stable foundation because she's never really had that. Her family has always like traveled around and never been in one place. So now she's finally at that point. She's good, she's engaged, she's having a good time. This is her last trip, and she's excited for this to be her last trip because it is actually an international trip that has a 24-hour layover in Belize. So fun little vacation moment, fun way to go out with a bang. And she's very excited about it until she checks in for her flight and realizes that she's flying with Jack Stone, this other flight attendant that she does not quite like. She doesn't know him too well personally, but he has a reputation and, you know, of kind of being like a womanizer and just really arrogant. He used to be a pilot and now he's a flight attendant, and she just feels like he's super cocky and like there's not too many men that are flight attendants, and she's always found that the ones that are kind of just are really arrogant and feel like they own the place. And Jack in particular, she has just not taken a liking to, and every time she has been around him, she's just felt like he's a jerk. She doesn't like him. So they're stuck on this flight together, stuck on this sort of layover vacation together. And, you know, as this story unravels, you learn more about Ava, and it's really just a story that touches on like what you want in life and what really makes you happy and the things that are important, and, you know, not judging a book by its cover and finding the little things in life and really just enjoying them. I loved Jack in this story. I felt like Jack and Ava's banter reminded me so much of the banter in The Hating Game. Like, seriously, Jack gave me major Joshua Templeman vibes from time to time, and if you guys know me at all, The Hating Game is my favorite rom-com ever, and I really liked it. It was so freaking good. Really fun vacation vibes. Like, if you're going to the beach, great book to bring. I absolutely loved it. This was a 5-star read for me. It definitely started out a little bit slow, but I'm telling you, you got to get through it. It starts out slow because the author of this book is actually a flight attendant, and I feel like she really wanted to touch on all the like logistics of being a flight attendant, so you really get to see like every part of that, which can be a little slow in the beginning. It definitely was, but like as the story picked up, as they, you know, got to Belize and everything started happening, it was just so good. It was so cute and I loved it, so go read it. And then The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I swear I'm like one of the last people on the planet to read this book. It was like the book of the summer last summer, but I finally got to it a whole year later. Basically, this story follows this girl named Olive. She is the maid of honor in this wedding party because her sister, who is her twin sister, is actually getting married. And you know, that's a fun time, except for also in the wedding party is the groom's brother, Ethan. He is the best man, and Olive and Ethan do not get along. They met years ago and their initial interaction just like did not go well, and Olive from then on was just not about Ethan, and every time they're in the same room they can't help but bicker. They just do not get along with one another. But pretty much during the wedding, everybody except for Olive and Ethan end up eating from the buffet, and everybody, including the bride and groom, get food poisoning. And so now Olive's sister has this honeymoon, this like all-inclusive amazing honeymoon to Hawaii, and she's like, it's literally like, if we don't use it, we're gonna lose it. Go on my honeymoon for me, because Olive is her twin sister, so she can basically use her ID, check into the hotel, say that she is her sister, and then Ethan has the same last name, so they basically are going on this honeymoon just so that it doesn't go to waste, and they are pretty much posing as the bride and groom because same last name. Olive looks just like her sister. Like, it's just a little too perfect, and it really works out. And Olive has not been on a vacation in forever, and neither has Ethan, and even though they cannot stand each other, both of them individually want to go on this honeymoon, but they kind of need each other to go on it. So they finally agree after a lot of begging from Olive's sister. They go on this honeymoon together, so there's definitely like an element of fake dating, of course forced proximity because they're like staying in the honeymoon suite together. Lots of fun little adventures they go on. This book I feel like has been kind of controversial. Like, people either love it or they hate it. I was kind of in the middle. Like, I liked it a lot. Like, there were a lot of moments that I really loved. The ending, which I just feel like is kind of a Christina Lauren curse, if I may say so. The ending just kind of like went a little all over the place. Like, it was so good, and then it kind of felt like a different book the last 100 pages, but I think the way it wrapped up it really made me smile. I really liked it. It was really cute. Again, great summer vibes. I really liked it. So I don't think you could go wrong reading either of these books, but if you want to see which one was my ultimate favorite, you're just gonna have to watch my book battle video. And then the next book I read this month was seriously the book that has been all over my Instagram feed. It just came out this month and everyone was talking about it, and once I heard what it was about, because it contains like seriously one of my favorite tropes of all time, I knew I had to read it. Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This story follows a girl named Persephone. She goes by Percy, and pretty much the story starts out with her getting a phone call from a person she clearly knows very well, a voice she recognizes very well. It's from this boy named Charlie, and he basically informs her that his mother has passed away, and you can tell that Percy is very close with Charlie, has history with Charlie, but that there's a lot more intense history with Charlie's brother Sam. So Percy, you can tell, is very reluctant about this, but she knows she has to because, you know, this is a big deal. She agrees to basically go back to the town that Charlie and Sam are from to be there for their mother's funeral. And that's how the story starts out, and then from there, every other chapter we basically flash back to 6 summers before. So the story pretty much takes place over the course of 1 weekend, but also 6 years, because in the present we're just seeing Percy go back to this small town and be there for the weekend of this funeral, but then every other chapter is flashing back to the 6 various summers that Percy spent in this town because her parents bought a lake house right next door to Charlie and Sam, who lived there year round. You see them, I think they're like in 8th grade whenever she first moves there, so you see Percy and Sam meet and just hit it off right off the bat. They really have this sort of like soulmate, really adorable friendship connection. And then you see that kind of like grow over time to like best friends and then to something more. It was so cute. I love a childhood friends to lovers. Like, it used to not be my favorite, but now it's seriously just the cutest thing, like seeing the relationship evolve and seeing them mature and like everything that comes along with that. It just gives you all the little warm and fuzzy butterflies. So cute. Sam, some of his lines, I was just like, oh my god. So we see that, but then we obviously know, because of the present day plot, that something happened between Sam and Percy that made them go their separate ways. Clearly they have not talked in a very long time, and now they're like adults. They're like nearly 30, and something happened here. So it's one of those stories that I love so very much, where you're putting the puzzle pieces together until you kind of figure out what happened that made them ultimately go their separate ways. This story reminded me so much of Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, but in my opinion, like so much better than that story, because the ending of that story, I won't talk about it here because I talk about it all the time. The ending of that story ruined the whole book for me. The ending of this book, I thought it was perfect and I loved it, and it was so cute, so beautiful. Great book for summer. If you love childhood friends to strangers to lovers, this is your next read. Go read it. Worth every ounce of hype. Okay, and then the next book I actually read while I was on vacation, and I still need to film like my full dedicated video to this book, so I won't go too far into it. But the next book I read was Luna and the Lie by Mariana Zapata. As you can see, she is a thick girl. Mariana Zapata is one of my absolute favorite authors. This is about the 5th book of hers that I've read, and seriously, for me, like, I just feel like she can't do any wrong. Like, I can just count on her books to be something that I'm gonna love. But when it came to this book, I guess let me just explain what it's about. Essentially, this story follows this girl named Luna. She works at a car auto body shop, and she like is the painter. She paints cars, and then she does whatever else she needs to do around the shop. She's worked there for like 9 years at this point. She's like 26, but she's worked there since she was like a teenager. She's been there for a long time. And Luna has a very kind of dark past. She had a lot of issues with her family. You can tell she doesn't have a relationship with her father anymore, and she, even though she's a young girl, she's really like taken care of her 3 younger sisters, brought them up. Like, she has a lot of responsibility on her shoulders, and pretty much at the start of the story, we meet Luna, we meet the people that work around the shop, and we meet Lucas Ripley. He goes by Rip. He is the co-owner of this shop. The other owner is this man, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper, it has really been like a person that's been like a father figure to Luna, has taken her under his wing. Like, we love Mr. Cooper, but Mr. Ripley, or Rip, we have issues with. Luna and him do not get along. They haven't gotten along from day one. He's very attractive, of course, because aren't they always, but they haven't gotten on. He clearly doesn't like her, and she knows that. And for me, this book, just that concept, I'm like, all right, an enemies to lovers workplace romance, seriously, in my top 3 favorite tropes, especially if they're your boss. It makes it way spicier and I love it. So I was intrigued, but pretty much in this story, what kind of happens at the beginning is Luna finds out that her grandmother has passed away and she absolutely has to go to the funeral back in San Antonio. This story takes place in Houston, where I'm from, which was kind of cute, but this funeral is happening in San Antonio. She feels that she has to go because her grandmother was like one of the only good family members in her life, but like she's basically terrified to go, doesn't want to see her family, doesn't want to see her dad, so she doesn't want to go alone to this funeral. And basically we learn that she owes Rip a favor. Like, I guess Luna had done something for him in the past. She told a lie for him that really helped him out, and even though Rip does not like her, he is not about being in debt to people, so he over and over is like, tell me what you want, like tell me what I need to do to pay you back, like what is your favor, I owe you a favor, whatever. So basically Luna's like, okay, I want to cash in on this favor, please go to this funeral with me. So Rip basically goes to the funeral with her, and that's like 200 pages in. And then I swear to you, the rest of the story, I can't even tell you, because quite honestly I felt like this book just like didn't have a freaking plot. Like, I don't feel like it had much of a point. And look, I am a Mariana Zapata stan. As I just said, we know she's the queen of slow burn romance, and I love a slow burn romance. I truly do. But for me, that doesn't mean that like the story itself has to be slow to the point that I feel like nothing is happening. And like, I hate to say this, like, I don't know, I read it a few days ago and I still feel the same way, but I just really kind of didn't like this book, and I could not stand Luna. She drove me crazy. Rip definitely had a handful of lines. I really enjoyed him, but yeah, this book was just like not for me. It really just, it was really boring. I'm sorry guys, it was really boring. I love Mariana Zapata. I will still continue to read every one of her books, and I was so excited to read this book, so I'm really disappointed that I didn't like it, especially for how thick it was, and just, I swear to you, like nothing happened, which makes me very sad. But yeah, that was the 5th book I read in May. Moving on, and the last book that I read in the month of May, I actually read in one sitting because I was reading it in the airport and on a plane, and it was so freaking easy to read. I just zipped right through it. I didn't even stop. It is Shipped by Angie Hockman. This is, I'll let you guess, an enemies to lovers workplace romance. Oh my gosh, you're so smart. And it's actually an enemies to lovers stuck on vacation moment as well. So many of you guys, whenever you watch my book battle of this, were telling me to go and read Shipped because you said it was really similar. And when I saw this in the airport, I was like, okay, I'm gonna snatch it up. I wanna read it, I'm very curious. And it was so good. I've seen some different reviews of people not loving this book, but for me, like, I thought it was super cute. It wasn't like the greatest thing I've ever read, but definitely like enjoyed every single second of it. And if you like this vibe of book, like, I promise you'll like it, especially for summer. Very cute. Basically, this story follows this girl named Henley. She is in the process of getting her MBA, but she currently works at this cruise line as the marketing manager. And she is, again, that type of woman that is just super hyper-focused on her career. She has like a set list of goals. She wants to achieve a certain kind of rung on the ladder by a certain age, and she's just really, really determined to continue moving up in this corporate world. And Henley gets along great with just about everyone at her company except for this man named Graham, and he is the social media manager for the company. He just absolutely grinds her gears. He works remote, so they've never actually met in person, but he's just one of those people that he does a great job, but like, you know, from time to time, like, he's not as deadline oriented as her. He doesn't get things done exactly how she wants it, when she wants it. He's not like super attention to detail in the way that she is, and she just, it drives her crazy because she'll write him like a super long, like 3-paragraph flowery email, and he'll reply with like 1 word, like gotcha or whatever, with like a dash and G. Like, he just is super, I don't want to say unprofessional, but just, you know, in that way that she feels like men can kind of get by in the workplace, where she's like working her butt off, and she feels like Graham has kind of been someone that's been able to slip by, and she specifically has beef with him over a certain situation that happened right after he started working there, and she's just kind of marked him in her book as like, he drives her crazy, even though of course he's super attractive, because of course he is. But pretty much what ends up happening is that Henley is super excited to find out that there is a new position opening as the director of digital marketing at the cruise ship line, and she is like, this is definitely a great next step for me, like, I want this job, it's my dream job. And so she gets called into the like director's office, and he pretty much tells her that she is up for the job, but then she hears a little crackle from the speakerphone on the desk and realizes that it's not just her up for the job. Her and Graham are both up for the job, and they're basically going to be competing for this promotion together, and they're basically both tasked with, because they've never actually been on a cruise for the cruise line, they need to go on this cruise to this certain location in the Galapagos that hasn't been getting like many reservations. They want them to both go on it and basically come up with a marketing proposal to get more people to like buy tickets for this cruise ship. And so now they are pretty much forced to be on this cruise ship together, like forced proximity, don't like each other, working together, competing for the same job, summery vibes. Can you see where I'm going with it? It was so freaking cute. So freaking cute. I really liked Graham. A lot of the books I read this month really were the same kind of vibe. There's a lot of books kind of like this, but for me, they just hit every time. You know, this wasn't like the greatest thing I've ever read, but I thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. Like, I thought it was super, super cute. I loved the banter. I loved the angst. I loved like the forbiddenness and the tension. And I loved the slow transition of like, I can't stand you, to like, okay, now I'm forced to spend time with you. Maybe I don't quite hate you. What's happening here? Like, I just love that slow build and transition. And there were a lot of like side characters in this book that just like made me laugh out loud. It was just a really cute moment. It also really touched on, not to make it all serious, but it touched on the differences of like what women have to deal with in the workplace versus men, and like how much harder women have to try, and you know, how a lot of times women's ideas are looked over, or sometimes, you know, they're taken advantage of. And it was just, you know, I love a cute little rom-com book, but it's fun to see, or it's just interesting to see some of those like real life elements sprinkled in that are very true, that a lot of people have to deal with. And yeah, I really, really liked it, and it was a very good end to my month. Lots of summer vibes. So yeah, those are the 6 books that I read in the month of May. If you guys have read any of them, I would love to hear your thoughts down below. If I don't have a dedicated video for each of these out yet, I will shortly. I'm a little behind on my individual reviews, but you guys know they're all coming your way. Don't you worry. But yeah, that is it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. When Fate Breaks, available now. Just gotta say it again. But yeah, I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye.